Hello, everybody. Welcome to another special episode of Carlton People. On today's episode, I've got a gentleman by the name of Dale, who's got a very interesting story, as we all do with the Carlton Football Club, but also on a professional level because he's also done some awesome work with them. And we're going to touch on all of that. But Dale, welcome, mate.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks for having me.
What's happening in your world at the moment?
School holidays have just started, so which is great. I've done a couple of little trips already. I've got two little boys. I shouldn't say little.
They're growing.
8-year-old and an 11-year-old. So I've already been down to Warrnambool and visiting my wife's parents and whatnot. So little trips here and there, which has been great.
Yeah, for sure. Now we're kind of bucking the trend here because since I guess a couple of months ago now, or I should say just over a month ago now, we've been able to see people, and I've been recording some of these episodes in person, but unfortunately we have a bit of a distance between us, so this is most practical.
Yeah, no, that's all good, mate. I'm used to it through remote learning as I'm a teacher, so I'm used to talking through the camera, so yeah, should be fun.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we start with the way we always start? Tell me a little bit about where does it all begin for you? Where did the Carlton Football Club enter your life?
Well, I was born in the mid-70s, so I guess until early 80s, where I guess you started to notice things as when you begin primary school, I guess, and being a kid, I think your most important things are your friends, maybe your BMX, Sunday morning cartoons, and obviously your footy club. And I do remember, well, back then it was the VFL and there was only 12 teams, so I had 1 in 12 chance of getting it right. And I guess, all of them were in Melbourne except for Geelong, where I live at the moment. And I actually grew up in Horsham, which is in the Wimmera, which used to be a recruiting zone for Essendon. So I think most of my friends at school were Bombers supporters. But where it began for me, I guess my brother was my biggest influence. He picked the Blues, and I think his reasons were they had the best looking top and the best song, and that seemed two pretty good reasons to me. And I just remember glimpses of some of the players. Reece Jones, we had actually I should mention Paul Meldrum was my brother's favourite player, and a little story I've got, he took his Carlton top down to the local sports store to get his number on the back, and it was actually Paul Meldrum's auntie that served him, and she was shocked, thinking this is the first time someone's coming in for Paul's number, and so she got in contact with Paul Meldrum, and he wrote a letter to Brett, my brother, and with a player photo, and so it was ingrained then. So no, it's been Blues ever since.
So you're one of the few that I speak to who come from the absolute golden era and know nothing but success.
Well, that's the thing, especially the early 80s. Look at some of the players, the Flying Doormat. I actually remember the streaker coming out, and I think as a boy, like that, you don't see that every day. And something about the Blues, they had characters, they had success. And then I guess, 87 as well, like, Sticks, Kernahan. Koutafidis was just a machine. And so it was a really good time. And I guess then we've had our, well, as you know, some darker years. We had a 95, obviously, but some darker years.
We have. No, we sure have. We'll definitely touch on the dark years, or more so the newish rebuild that we're in at the moment, which we think is hopefully towards the end of its tenure. We're ready to start winning. Sure. But how far back does your memory go? Whether it be, is it just a flash? Is it a game? Is it a particular moment? Do you remember your first game that you went to, or how far back can we go in the memory?
Yeah, well, see, because I grew up in Horsham, we didn't actually get to Melbourne that often. So a lot of the games were just watching on TV and discussing with my brother about the games and each year, how we're going to improve and those types of things. So I guess it wasn't till later on in my early adult years that I actually got to games, and then it was sort of like go to Princess Park and just seeing these heroes running around, that type of thing. So I guess growing up in the country, it was sort of all through the TV. And sometimes through the radio. So it's a different sort of perspective than I think, those people in Melbourne probably, get to see a lot more games live. But no, it was always ingrained. I guess my brother passed in 2007, so he was 33. So I guess it was a bond that we had. And, just always kicking the footy and talking about, new recruits and, pretending we were certain players as we were kicking the footy, that type of thing. So it was a bond that I had with my brother that, I sort of feel that with the Blues.
Of course. Yeah, it's quite fascinating. Obviously, I was born in '91, so I only really know the newish era of first of all the club, and second of all the way footy and sport is consumed. And I've interviewed quite a few people who were, either born in the 70s or grew up in the 70s, and they talk about how sometimes you just had to listen on the radio because it wouldn't be televised. What do you make of 2020 and fan podcasts and just so much information? And if you really want to consume content about the club, it's really there. So how's that been for you?
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It's footy all year round, really. So, articles that you can read. Podcasts, what you do, which is also fantastic. And just, access to the players. I think it bounces off a little bit of what the NBA does in America. It's just, it's changed, but it's changed for the better. I think we get to know the players through interviews and, I guess the game itself has changed as well with, rolling zones and those types of things. But I remember, when I was a kid, even playing football, you stay on your man and you stay in your position. But nowadays, I mean, it's all tactics, and the coaches are trying to get the best advantage from wherever they can. So I can understand how all that's changed. But I think it's good with the internet because forums and whatnot, everyone's got an opinion. I remember, I turned into a bit of a footy nerd. I used to have an Excel spreadsheet and trying to guess the umpires' votes for Brownlow and those types of things. So, you can get your different opinions from everywhere and form your own, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you've had a bit to do with the club, as I mentioned at the outset, in a professional landscape. So why don't you sort of share with us what is it that you do? And how did you end up working with the club?
I guess I've always drawn cartoons, and what's better to draw than what you're into, I guess. So I started doing paintings of some of the players. And, again, I was into basketball as well. So I started with NBA plays and little things like that at school, and then sort of stemmed for – it was just a way of relaxing outside of work as well, just doing my own sort of paintings and different things. And I've got a social media account and sort of show some of my work through that. And I think the Carlton, the Cheer Squad contacted me, and it's stemmed from, do you mind if you do a few caricatures for us? And of course, and then that rolled on to the club itself. Asking, they had a couple of little jobs for their website and different things. So that's how it sort of steamrolled a little bit. But, which is great to see. I think it was one of the highlights. I think it was Cade Simpson's 250th, and they were giving out posters of his head, and just to see thousands of people walking around with my artwork was just surreal. But really good.
Yeah, I've actually just got some of these images playing as you've been talking, so people can see your work. So, have you got an Instagram? Do you put them anywhere online? Is there somewhere where we can view them, or it was just something you just did off the cuff?
I've got an Instagram, which is the account is @DaleBakerArtist. and I've got a Facebook page which is on the same account name. So just created some artworks, and that's how it stems. I guess it's just a passion that sort of, well, again, it's social media that's helped it grow some legs there. So.
Yeah, well, it's actually not so different to what we were just touching on with the way footy's consumed, because obviously this space that I'm in here, this is more podcasting, talking, analysing games with fans, and basically just doing what we do in our spare time, which is talk shop about the Blues. But with your artwork and with what we have now, there's just an unbelievable distribution platform that we have now, where, I mean, if you're lucky enough, one of your pieces will be seen by someone just by chance. We haven't really had that before. I think you used to have to go to a publisher or a PR person or something like that. Whereas it's just fascinating to me. And I mean, I'm a kid that grew up in this world, and it still fascinates me.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And the same, like, I've met some great, fantastic illustrators through the same means. Grange Wallace, he's done some great stuff for the Blues as well. Ricky Walker, and one of the best, I think. Paul Harvey, halftime. He's just a legend. And yeah, just sometimes we've met up, for Christmas drinks and those types of things, and just to be in that same company and talking about their artwork, and that was good, and talk about footy in general, and a bit of banter. Which is just great, which wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for social media. So,
yeah. Interesting, mate. Interesting. So let's touch a little bit more on your experience growing up. Any particular games that you've been to, not necessarily growing up, I guess just at any point in your life, any particular games that really stick out to you, or fond memories?
For sure. I think for me, my favourite game was round 3. 2007, and we were playing Essendon. I mentioned that the most of Horsham were going for Essendon, and I think it was one of our biggest comebacks ever. Like, we were shot. I was there with my brother and a mate, and we just started this comeback. Fev was just clunking them and putting them through, and we just got home. Like, it was just one of those best days. Like, you couldn't have planned it better, because I actually thought, we can't let it go on here, and every goal just kept building. So definitely that's one of my highlights, and obviously when we beat Richmond, Chris Jard, Nick Dygan, who kicked 5 goals. The story was he was eating a sub or something beforehand. How you can't write that, and look what Richmond have gone on to do since, but we've always got that on them. We shouldn't have even been there with the how we got into the 8 that year. So
we had no right being there, mate.
They're two that sort of stand out. 95 when we beat Geelong. Again, I live and work in Geelong at the moment, so I've always got that. So I mean, it's been a long time. And I guess we're going to touch on the future coming up, but yeah, there's just some games that you just feel proud to be a blue bagger. So, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Well, I mean, as I said, you've seen the best of Carlton, and obviously we've all seen the worst of Carlton.
Yeah.
How do you go from watching, the mighty Blues, the great club that we are, but back then in terms of on-field success that we were, to watching them go through just a painful rebuild and then have to do it again and again? How's that been for you, watching that?
Well, look, I'll be honest. From year 2000 on, I actually sort of jumped on board. I know a lot of people jump on board when it's success, but that's when I really, I was buying my membership every year and making sure, for some reason, I like being the underdog going into every game. That I always had belief of the glass half full, but I liked, it was something about, it's an Australian, being the underdog. We can, but over time, that sort of, it just went for too long, and now I'm sort of feeling, it's our time to shine. Look, those years, I feel sorry for, Cade Simpson and even like Cruiser and Gibbs and all the number 1 draft picks that, they did show heart all the way through, but didn't really have that success that previous players have had. But it's been a real long time, But I can sort of, I think now Carlton's always like a destination club. They can feel it. We've had those slogans, for, how many years, but surely we're on the right track now.
There's one thing that this club can do. It's put together a hype train and help the fans get on board, because we do marketing very well at this football club.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. About this new team of ours, because I really do look at it like a new team. It's a new era. I really do believe that there's a lot to be hopeful for and excited about. I think even if you compare this group to that, 2006, 7, and 8 group where we had those number 1 draft picks and then Juddy came along. I always felt back then, me personally, that we had the top end talent, but we didn't quite have that depth. Whereas now it's kind of the other way around. We have maybe 1 or 2 players that are really at the top of their game in terms of their standing in the league. But I just feel like there's a real spine of depth players. How do you see this group? What are your observations of what's happening?
Yeah, I agree. We've got the monster in Cripps, but it's the other players around the edges that are actually, everyone's got to buy in. And I really like Jack Martin. I think his pace and his delivery, I think inside 50 delivery is really important. And Ryan Houlihan used to put a lace out to Fev, and I think Jack Martin's got a little bit of that. Like, he can just put a dart in, bang, and if we can get Big H to put him through the sticks. Someone like Jack Martin. What else have we got? I've just written a few notes up here. I've got my best 22. I think our backline's really good. Marchbank, he's just coming back from injury. Jones, and then Plowman. Oh, Sard, arguably the best halfback flank to in the AFL. That's going to help us no end. I know.
Absolutely. So take us through. Sorry to interrupt. Take me through your best 22 if you've got it there. I haven't ever asked anyone to prepare that, but if you've got it, mate, take me through what you've got for me.
Oh, look, I think Marchbank's got to come back in.
Yep.
Jonesy's shown that he needs to be there. Plowman, then I've got halfbacks, Scott Sard, Wietering, All Australian, Doc, Evergreen. We've got Samo on the wing for a bit of pace. Sam Walsh in the centre. Nunes, I've put him there, but probably more could be playing forward. Yeah, Jack Martin coming off the half forward flanked for that delivery. Now Charlie Curnow, is he going to be there? But if he can get firing, the Blues, that train is going to.
Oh mate, I won't be able to stop it.
Yeah. And then I've got Murphy on the other half forward flank.
I like that.
Obviously, Betts, he's got his own pocket there. Big H, and Gibbons. Followers, TDK, Cripps, and Williams, which we haven't spoken about yet, but he would actually be, I think him in the centre is going to give Cripps a real lift. I think we don't want Cripps to be banged up, as we can sort of see has happened a little bit, so hopefully Williams can help with that. Interchanges, obviously, we've got Setterfield, who I do rate. Ed Curnow keeps going. And Lockie Fogarty from Geelong, which I have read some good raps on. Like, he just hasn't had that chance, but does show a lot of courage, I've heard. So that's where I sort of see it. But anyway, we've just got to have a healthy group, and obviously Teague keeps everyone calm, which I like. I liked when he first came in. He pretty much said, play to your strengths, and I think the players sort of bought in with all that. So fingers crossed. I mean, Terry, you probably know as much as me. Like, it's a crystal ball. It could be great, could be not. There's
just so many variables, and you really cannot. I mean, I think we all know it, but 2020 has probably been the biggest reminder of it. You just cannot expect anything. I mean, if there's one thing you could probably rely on every year, it's that there's going to be an AFL season. And for a good chunk of 2020, there was no AFL season. So you're right. I mean, I think the beauty of what you've said, there's a few things I wanted to unpack. First of all, the team, it's so interchangeable. So many guys can play different roles. I mean, I think you had Noons on the wing, but you're right, he can move forward. He can fill a hole down back. Murphy can play in the mid, play forward. So I love that. I love that we have that versatility. But yourself being a teacher and sort of dealing with, the current generation, and then relating that to David Teague, who seems to be a real modern coach. He's not really a drill sergeant, and that seems to be going away as the years go on in the AFL. How do you take that, because you do work with younger people? How is the dynamic of society and the way you communicate changed?
Oh, good question. I hear what you're saying. Teague, I guess I'm always, even as a teacher myself, I've always said to students to work towards your strengths. Some kids are great at photography, other kids are great illustrators or work really well on the computers. You've got to, and schools are time to sort of show you what you can do. I guess even if we look at our Carlton coaches over the time, we have the hard taskmaster in Mick. Brendan Bolton. Now he had a teacher background, but I think he was really old school in terms of setting roles for the players, and you must stick to those roles. So I guess Teague gave a lot more freedom to the group, and being a player, and Teague himself, I watched him play. He would run back with the flight. So he's already got the credits in the bank for me as a coach. So it's all about making that connection with the players. And I think Teague, has shown that he's got that. So I guess, we've had quite a gamut of. Brett Ratton. I'm sad that he.
Man, it hurts. It hurts. You say his name and I feel it.
He seemed like a great guy, and he gave everything for the club. And I think a lot of AFL teams are very reactionary. At that time, but it's great to see him, finding some success with the Saints. But I definitely hear it's relationships with students and players. It's that sort of 1%ers that actually help, going forward. Like if a player feels like they can come and talk to the coach and have confidence that and they can walk away feeling better, that's priceless.
Well, there was an interview he did just recently, and he was asked about. We all saw the spray he gave them at halftime of the Simo's last game, and I think we're down by 40 points at halftime, and he obviously ripped into them. Do you think there is a place for that kind of feedback in the modern game? I mean, I personally do. I don't think it's something you can do every week. I think you might need to use it once or twice a year, if that. But it was interesting to hear him talk about how some of the players loved it and some of them really didn't. And I just find that fascinating that a player can actually go to a head coach and tell them, hey, you spoke a little too loud, or I didn't enjoy this, or what do you take of that? Did you think they deserved it?
I think it's a bit of a reflection on where society is at the moment. I mean, you see things like the Resilience Project coming out and being so successful. Yes, I think there's a place for it, and you can see that it actually can help, like an outcome. But I guess we're talking about like younger players, and they've gone through a school system which is different than I went through. And there's a bit of tough love here and there. I mean, it is a footy club. I can understand that there's lots of pressures that the players are going through, but I think with a coach with a playing group, you're talking about, he's just trying to express how much he wants the team to do well. And if he's not if he's not being, not going too hard on particular players, I mean, I can't see that there's too much of an issue there. But I reckon it's a reflection a little bit on where we are with society. I think, students, I mean, there's lots of different avenues for well-being and those types of things, but I think footy club there is still an avenue and a right place for, like you say, not all the time, but especially like imagine in a final.
Yeah, sometimes you need a rocket. Like you need to be reminded. I guess when you've all got a common goal. I mean, for me, growing up playing sport my whole life, I know what I'm like. I need someone to, when I'm not doing the right thing, sometimes I need a bit of a wake up. And I always put faith in my coaches to do that when it was needed. And it was just really interesting for me to hear Teague speak about it the way he did, because I would hope that the players trust him, that when he does go off, it's for a reason, you know?
Yeah. Well, who was the Brisbane Lions coach did that?
Fagan,
recently.
yeah, he did.
Yeah. Now, imagine the Blues actually do make it to a finals, but the coach is too scared to actually, say what he wants to say. That would be just wrong. So, yeah, definitely, it has to be well-timed, but I'm sure it's still got its place in footy.
Yep. I want to ask you a few more questions as we enter season 2021, and the beauty of doing these interviews now is I get to ask a little bit, ask for your thoughts about what's coming up. What is a pass mark for you in 21? What are you looking at? Is it wins? Is it finals? What's in your mind?
Yeah, it's definitely finals. It's top 8. I know some people are saying top 6, but I've been there long enough to know top 8 would be definitely a pass mark. I think then moving forward, 2022 and 23, then we're looking at, I'd have to be saying we'd have to be aiming for top 4 in 22 and 23. And history shows that if you can make it to top 4, you're a chance. So, I mean, look, obviously premierships are hard to come by. We've got so many teams, and it's just so close. Some of the quality of teams, and it's all about timing, as you say. The health of the club and injuries play their part. But yeah, I'd be thinking top 8 next year, top 4 22, and top 4 again 23, with hopefully a glimmer of hope for, I think, flag 17 will be the best.
It will.
It's the long-awaited.
It will. Well, that's kind of my next question. It's when are we going to win the flag? And this is very much a crystal ball proposition, because we'll watch this video back, I don't know, in a decade or 2 decades from now, and we'll see how right you were and what we were feeling. But you're feeling 23 is the year, or 23, 24? Yeah.
23, yeah.
I like that.
A bit of romantic notion. I guess like Paul Mildren's number was 23. I'd like it to be 23. And I think, if we can get, these players that like Sard and Williams top, like I say, if we are becoming that destination club and to have the Blues up there again, as people say, it's good for footy, and we know it is, to hear that classic song.
Yeah, they'll be sick of us before they know it, mate. Once we start winning games, we're going to get that arrogant. I mean, I'm still an arrogant Carlton supporter, and we're not winning.
I'm relatively quiet, some people would say, but Teague's not that one that would get in your face, but geez, he'd have a nice little smile, and can't wait. Yeah,
for sure. Well, mate, I've really enjoyed this. I really appreciate your time. I know it is school holidays, but it is a busy time for us now of catching up and just unwinding for what's been a massive year. So I really do appreciate your time.
No worries. Thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
For sure. Go the Blues, eh?
Cheers. Up the Blues.